Hey gang, just a quick rundown of the knives in my permanent EDC everyday carry collection. So therefore, none of these are really my everyday carry knives, but they're knives that I'm likely to pick up and put in my pocket on any given day. Alrighty, let's get to it. First up here is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. I carry this sometimes. I carry this when I'm not going to be going out in public. I carry it when I'm going over somewhere where I know I'm going to be helping out with something, like some DIY stuff or some heavier work stuff. Say someone's unpacking something, I'll bring this knife along because the S110V is going to last for ages. I'm not scared to sharpen it anymore now I've got the Tormek, so I'm happy to bring this along to harder jobs and let it have at it. The Spyderco Delica, this one's in Zome Green. To be honest, I have this mainly for comparison's sake when I'm doing my videos, really. I don't really carry it a great deal. I just find it it's a great knife, really good knife. I just find it a little less exciting than the other ones. A lot of me and my carrying knives comes from stuff that I love the look and the feel of, and I like the looks of the Delica enough, but just a little bit dull, It's, if you only had one knife, then this would be a fine one to have, but if you get joy from the collecting and the using like I do, then the Delica is a great standard, and I wouldn't want to be without one again. But I just don't really carry it a huge amount. Probably one of the lesser carried knives. Conversely to that, the Benchmade 940. This is probably one of my most carried knives. This is a great one. It's nice and long and slender. It's like a larger knife that carries like a small knife. Such a cliche, I know. The S30V steel. It came with a really weird factory bevel, but I've since corrected that on the Tormek, and now it is super sharp. This S30V holds an edge for a long time as well. It's definitely not outdated yet, but this is just a really fun knife to have and play with. I love the looks of it. Some people think it's ugly, but I think it looks great. I love that tantoy type tip. I love the long straight edge, really good for utility tasks. Really strong tip. You can not bother too much about where you stick this knife, so it's a good one. The hype is true. This is my Almar Eagle. This will be my most carried knife. It's super light. The steel is not that great, it's only AOS 8, but it's really sharp, really slicey, thin knife, good lockback, good nimble lockback. You can completely manage it one hand without having to smush it against your pant leg. It's a lovely looking knife. I love how that looks. Again, it's all taste, but I love it when knives don't look particularly aggressive or particularly eye-catching. Just nice and basic. Moving on, this is the Lion Steel TRA. This is the newest addition to my collection. Finally got the flipping action sorted. So it started off really greasy, like thick, greasy and stiff. It's still not the best flipper in the world, but it's better, a lot better than it was. It's probably about, say the best flipper I've ever had, probably the ZT0909. That's gone now, but it was a really good flipper because it had a heavier blade. This blade's a little bit lighter. This is the G10 version. They do a full titanium version as well. This probably has the best steel on the table, competing maybe with this one, this S110V. This is M390, and so far, after a couple of days of using it, it's still completely hair-shaving sharp, so it's definitely good stuff. Really light knife, 2.6 ounces, weighs about the same as a Delica. Nice, compact, handsome, good blade. I'm liking it more and more since my unboxing. It's definitely growing on me, especially seeing as this flipping is starting to actually work very well indeed. IKBS, very well fit and finished. Good knife indeed. The Spyderco Centofante. This was a gift knife from mother-in-law, so it's definitely not going anywhere. But I don't particularly carry it a great deal. I think I prefer this to the Delica, I think it's more comfortable to hold. Probably less safe. The ergos are better, I feel. That's just my hand. Nice and simple, just a slight curve to it, and that's it. There's not much stopping your thumb from going up on the blade. Really slicey. It's a real nice hollow ground edge, very thin behind the edge. Kind of a bit of a funky looking blade. It's a bit bird-like, like lots of Spydercos are. But it's good. It's kind of got this funny beak thing here happening. It's an interesting one. I like the little palladium silver inlet. It's a good sort of classy or, nice looking knife. And lastly, another very frequent carry is the Spyderco Mantra. This is probably my, it changes every day, but this is probably my favourite of all of these. I don't know, the Mar I probably carry the most, but I think I like this one the best. I'm really liking the M4 Steels steel still, and the flipping action is just getting better and better. And the thing about this knife, the reason I like it so much is that I've properly used it. I've used it really hard. I've used it on all sorts of things. I've done, you know, your jobs that you're not supposed to do with a really nice knife. Like I've cut lawn, like we're laying lawn. I was cutting lawn with it. No issues at all. As long as you clean it off afterwards, the M4 behaves just fine. And now, of course, I've got a proper sharpening system, the Tormek. I'm not scared of re-edging it when the edge does, quite rarely, need to be replaced. So there you go, that's the Mantra M4 Titanium Flipper by Spyderco. Yeah, if I was to rank these in terms of favourite, let's do that now. There we go. So just a couple of movements there. These three really safe in the collection. The Para 2, I'll always have one, but I could see myself getting rid of this one. Say if they ever do it in Maximet, I'll probably upgrade to that. I'm enjoying this so far. I don't think, like, I used to have the Lion Steel SR2. It just got a bit old. The flaws about it didn't get better. The flaws about this one have been improved since I've been using it. So this is actually, for me, sheerly overusing it. This is actually getting easier on my thumb here, which was a criticism initially, and the flipping is getting better too. So I'm liking this. Promising blade. And the Delica is probably my least favourite, but it's still a great knife. It's staying, and the Centofanti, I like it a bit more than the Delica. It's staying, also a gift. I've got a couple of other knives, got some Swiss Army knives. I've got a Nieto hunting knife, but it's not particularly EDC, it doesn't even have a clip. Just on, you notice that knives come and go through my system or through my collection, and it doesn't mean that they're bad, the ones that I get rid of. So I guess most recently I had the Cold Steel Broken Skull. That's a really good large knife. However, as good as a large knife can be, I'm never particularly going to find myself carrying it a lot. So I don't even carry the Paramilitary 2 a lot because it's larger. These are the sizes and the weights that are what get me going. So as great as that knife was, for my permanent collection, my actual user knives, not my review knives, it just didn't have the staying power, that's all. My Zero Tolerance 0909, I was a bit let down by the steel being a bit softer, and since I've known that people say, oh, that's just what Zero Tolerance does, you know what, it lost its luster after it did. I didn't think it would, but it did, and so it's gone. My Manix 2, I just wasn't carrying it. It just was a bit dull for me. It's like a duller version of the Delica. It's not a bad knife. Probably the best working knife you can get if you're purely carrying a knife to go to work with. The Manix 2 lightweight in 110V is brilliant, but I just wasn't carrying it, and it didn't have a sentimental spot for me, so off it went. So just because things go from my collection doesn't mean they're bad knives. The 0909 is a great knife, a really good flipping knife, really good in the hand. The soft steel bummed me out, and then I kind of realized as well, I'm not really actually carrying it that much either. So off it went. You have to be kind of ruthless, otherwise you end up with like the table being, you know, 5 times longer than this. And it's just a way of keeping this channel fresh as well, because part of the hobby for me is experiencing and talking about the knives, and for me to be able to do that, I've got a decent enough job, but it's not enough to buy a $300 knife every week, so you do need to move and rotate your collection. So that's what happens as well. When you notice a knife that's not around anymore, that's generally where it's gone or why it's gone. You can always ask me, and the knife that I say is good in a review, once I've said it's good, the only reason that'll change is if I do a follow-up review saying it's now bad. So you don't need to say, oh, because you don't have it anymore, it's a crap knife. It's just sheerly a matter of personal taste. I can appreciate a knife and say it's good without it really being for me. So the Broken Skull was a great example of that. So I'd liked it, but it just wasn't quite for me. Again, the XL Voyager as well, of course, just wasn't for me. I loved having it, I loved experiencing it and playing with it, but it had to go. So another great example was the Mini Grip. The really good model Mini Grip that I had middle of last year, it was just too vanilla, and I got it at the same time as the Mantra and about the same time as the 940. And you know what? If you find yourself being able to part with it, it's probably time for you to part with it. Right now I look at these, I couldn't part with any of these right now, so they're in my permanent collection. Anyway, my fixed blades, on the other hand, is getting a bit out of control, so I don't know what I'll do there, but in the end, same kind of philosophy. You just use them a bit less, so they do become kind of more collector pieces, but I'm sure I'll see something new that I want, and off they'll have to start going. Alright dudes, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.